Right, we are here at Chris Jones Martial Art Academy. I'm going to ask the very first question you always get asked. What was your inspiration to get involved in martial arts?
Wow, that's going back even longer. That's 1980, I say 87 to 88, it's somewhere around then. I can't remember when exactly. It was somewhere around then, I definitely remember that much. And there was a sort of a culmination of many reasons really. One, I think, I remember my dad wanted me to do something. Yeah. And it was rugby or martial arts. And I didn't like Sunday mornings and cold and mud. Yeah, I know that feeling. I didn't like that at all. And I wasn't very good at sharing, and sort of rugby is kind of a game of sharing. And I didn't like to share. Yeah, that's my ball. So there was a school across the road from me, and I used to see them going in the dough box, the crossover geese and the belts, and walking in, and what's going on in there? I don't know, and I didn't really give it any thought. And then I saw, as many of us do, I saw The Karate Kid. It was on TV, and I was like, that's what they're doing in there. Okay, that looks cool. So they're going to be balancing on poles and boats, and getting punched and punching a guy wearing a baseball mask and things. So I'll go and have a look. And what I used to do was, I used to go and sit at the back and watch the class. And I did that for about 4 weeks. And this is, bear in mind, this is going back, this is in the 80s, so classes were sort of like about 3 hours-ish, 2-3 hours, but they'd be there for a while, once on a Wednesday evening, and I'd sit at the back with my notepad and I'm doing this, and then I went home and I'd train in the garden, and the instructor, bless him, he put up with it for a while, and then again, it was 3 or 4 weeks in, he came over and he was like, hey, do you like this then, do you? Yeah. You think about joining in the class instead of writing down the notes and going home and practicing as well. So I asked my mum, and she's like, yeah, you can do it. And because my dad was keen for me, they didn't know I was going over. I was just wandering over and watching. And I got started, and very, very quickly got addicted to kicking people in the face. And the rest is history.
As you do. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, the reason I started chatting to you was I went, oh, I love that movie. What's it like? And then obviously we started chatting, and then we keep meeting up at events. We do that, don't we? But, yeah, I always find that you just bump into random people. But how'd you get involved in the film work? Because that's a big thing people are interested in.
I think it was always something that I was interested in. I mean, initially the spark for me with martial arts, as I say, was I saw a film, and then I saw the people going in, and I connected the two. And but I didn't really have any sort of aspirations to be working in films at that age. It wasn't until probably about the mid-90s when I saw the film Rumble in the Bronx. It was around about 95, 96, and I saw this guy on screen, jumping over tables and jumping over buildings, and then falling down gaps between cars, and it's like wow, this guy's crazy. How's he doing all these things? And that sort of inspired me to then start throwing myself around like a bit of a fool, and not really knowing. I was at that age of sort of 15, 16 where I was indestructible, and nothing can break me. And I remember trying to copy anybody that's seen the film where Jackie Chan goes up through a shopping trolley. There's like a gang warehouse. I don't know why they've got a shopping trolley in a gang warehouse, but anyway, they're those people that steal them. When you see the
that's the one.
And anyway, I tried to, and I saw him doing. I thought, great. So there was an Asda car park. I'm going through the trolley, ripping my shirt in the process, and it sort of sparked the idea in my head. And my instructor at the time, it was a big school, so there was several instructors, and one of the instructors was training to be on the British Stunt Register. And he was going on courses and coming back, and then we were in the gym, we would practice little fight scenes, and I was like, this is quite good fun, this. And around the same sort of time, the TV show Martial Law was on. Oh yes. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was on. Mortal Kombat was on. All these TV series started popping up with like martial arts themes, and at the same time I was starting to amass a stupid collection of Jackie Chan films, and the idea was slowly sort of creeping into my head, I'd quite like to do that. So I did.
Yeah,
essentially.
I mean, I've talked to people and say the industry, it's so hard to get into. But like, I think it's one of those key things, you just don't give up.
No, it's interesting because I was having a chat with somebody yesterday about this subject, and at the minute, I mean, I did actually, between sort of 2001 and 2009-10, I worked a lot. And the industry was very different then. It was much smaller, but there was no social media. So there was very little anyway. It was sort of there was message boards and forums, but there wasn't Facebook, and it wasn't. Your phone wasn't bombarded every 25 seconds with stuff.
Oh yeah.
And so I was very single-minded and very focused on this is what I want to do, and so I was putting all my energy into that, and there was no outside influence at all. And as time went on and things changed, social media comes around and people start having opinions on what you're doing.
Yes.
And then I actually had a family as well. I had kids, and I actually had time off for a knee operation. And then I sort of stopped for a while, and I've sort of just this last year started getting back into it again.
Yeah.
What I've had to do is a big shift in my head. I've had to sort of get back into that sort of. It's not like putting the blinkers on as such. It's sort of like you got to get this single-minded focus of if I want to do this, nobody's going to give it to me.
Yeah.
People are going to have their opinions, just as long as I don't make them mine as well. I've got to sort of push that to one side, like I did when I first started out. And that's the biggest thing. You've got to people who wanted to do it, you've got to sort of adopt the attitude of if I want to do it, I've got to go and get it. No one's going to give it to me. People are going to have opinions on what you're doing.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And you've got to, not completely ignore what they're saying, take it on board, but don't let it stop you from getting where you want to get. And it's a lot harder now with the way that social media is structured. You've got to sort of push that out a little bit. So
on Facebook, we see your podcasters a lot.
Yep.
And that. How can people get in contact with you, learn this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, with the podcast, it's something I've wanted to do for a while, and for one reason or another, I've just never got around to it. And so it was 12 weeks ago now. I was sat at my table at home, and I just set up the software, and just hit record, and just spoke for 20 minutes. And I thought, why would anybody want to listen to me for 20 minutes? I'll stick it on Facebook anyway and see what happens. And I turned my phone off, went out, and then came back in, and it was just like just full of messages and comments. And I just thought, wow, okay, I need to do this properly. So the following week, I then recorded my first full episode. And then we basically, what I did, because podcasting is sort of international, it's not, because it's online, it's not like based in one place. It's like a radio show, for example. Like we've got listeners from Singapore, France, Germany, Australia, Germany, you know what I mean? There's people from all over the place. So I'd actually developed 2 URLs for it. So we've got martialartspodcast.co.uk or kickbackpodcast.com. Because the Americans, bless them, have some sort of issue with .co.uk.
Yeah.
They don't like it. So we've got a .com address just for them.
Why not?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We're looking at your T-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I got involved again 2007 with Dave Lee and the Disability Martial Arts Association.
Yeah.
And again, since the advent of social media, this kind of inclusion.
Yeah.
Has snowballed, and this is a story I say, which we witnessed at an event, and it's something I picked up on in a lot of other groups. And this guy got up on stage, and he was very good at what he did, and then he said, "We have this one student who has cerebral palsy, we've trained blah blah blah." And then we listen to other clubs, and they will say, "We have this one student," and they seem to have this trophy. Yeah. Rather than, do you know what I mean? Because it was always, they only ever have one student that they sort of parade out at events, whereas we're it's got to be total inclusion, and I know you're heavily involved in that as well. Yeah,
it's something that I didn't really realise that that's what we were doing, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well,
it was just, for me, it's always been about, when somebody comes in through the door, it's my job to make it a reality for them as best I can.
Yeah.
Not shut the door and go, no, you can't do that, because it just feels like the right thing to do, and we've always operated like that. Now, obviously, we don't just go, yeah, come in, you know, because there has to be a degree of common sense involved. But I always go out of my way if somebody comes to us and they explain the various challenges that they're having. If I don't understand fully, I'll go out and ask people and find out and go, okay, this is the one good thing about social media, especially the network now, that you can reach out to people and say, somebody's come to us, they want to train, these are their problems they're having, do you know any way we could maybe work things? Oh yeah, if you do this, and this. Yeah. Brilliant, thank you, we'll give that a try. But some of the stories we hear from people when there's, you know, parents bringing kids in, and they say, oh, we've been trying to get Jimmy into martial arts for years and we just kept getting told no. Yeah. Oh, why? What was the reason? Insurance.
That's the biggest, that was something, it's the biggest BS line we've ever come across. So we can tell you, he's nodding away there, and it's always...
Stop doing it, instructors.
Yeah.
Right?
There's nothing on insurance. The biggest thing what we said, they might need to bring a doctor's note. Some conditions say yes, they can do this.
Absolutely, it's just common sense. But
I mean, we've got some very challenging students. Yeah. We got a guy. I've known him since he was a lad. He now runs the club with me. It was only 5 years ago that I found out he was blind in one eye. You know, when I was at the college, we had a mechanic. He was a trainee motor mechanic. He went for a job interview because he come back and told us, he's a big lad. And they were going through, he goes, you got any disabilities? And he went, no. And the guy looked at him and he went, but you've only got one arm. And he went, oh yeah. He said, but you know, it doesn't hinder me. I don't think it's a disability. He said, I just do what I do. And he was like, okay, fair enough. But a lot of people I know with disabilities, they don't think of themselves that way, which is the kind of strange thing. Not strange, but it's other people's viewpoint.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we go to a gym, and we know all the staff very well. We have a laugh, and when we're bantering, the looks we get off people, because they think I'm a ruthless, un-PC, you know.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah. You know, but it's that kind of thing. We have this banter. Yeah. And once people get to know, oh, actually, they're just having a laugh. Yeah. And they say, oh, what do you do? Oh, yeah, you do martial arts, but you're in a wheelchair. And it's like, but then again, I think a lot of the time, I find people are just uncomfortable. Because they don't know how to react or respond.
Absolutely. It's the thing now, especially with martial arts. I mean, there are still a lot of people out there with very set views on what martial arts is. But I covered this on my podcast a few weeks ago, actually. One of I have a bit where I just chat. Yeah, I just literally sit in a room and talk to myself. It's very therapeutic. But no, but one of the things that I had, one of the topic discussions that was brought up by somebody, it was, you know, what is martial arts to you? And I think it's a different thing for everybody. Yeah. For some people, it's something to do as a profession. You know, it's maybe their profession, they fight or whatever it is that they do. That's what martial arts is to them. For some people, it is a means to get out of the house and socialise and talk to people and help them deal with whatever issues that they've got. For some people, it's physical exercise to help them with whatever problems or issues they've got going on in their life. For some people, it's to help them work on anger issues. It's martial arts. It's not one thing. Yeah. It's so many different things to so many different people. And for me, that's one of the big things I'm about is trying to remind people that, you know, if you see somebody doing something that you don't necessarily think is, well, this is very subjective, isn't it? Is useful or in any way practical. Yes. Then that's fine, but you don't need to go on the offensive about it. Just leave them be. Yeah. You know? I do a lot because I've got a performance background. I work I used to heavily work in a lot of performance stuff. One of my bugbears is when you see people commenting on kids doing more performance-based acrobatic routines and stuff, and it's like it's just grown men hammering, laying into like 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. It's like, quit being big grumpy dream stealers. Let them do what they're doing. They're doing something positive with themselves. They're not out getting up to mischief. They're not sat playing Fortnite for 25 hours. They're not, they're doing something. And what people need to remember is, I mean, I got into martial arts through watching The Karate Kid, and at the time there was 4 channels on television. Now there's 400 channels on television. There's instantaneous games on your phones, on your Xbox, your PlayStation. We're living in sort of a now generation, and kids want things. And if it doesn't meet the criteria in their head, you're not going to keep them entertained. So using the performance martial arts and the stuff that they're seeing that matches the computer games and the films and all the media that they're being bombarded with, for me, we've used it as a tool to sort of bring them back into, okay, well, this is the fun stuff, and you get to do it once you've practiced this. And it's a trade-off, and a lot of people they have a really hard time with it, and it's just let people do what they want to do. And
I remember you putting up one of your showcase reels, and there was a comment, somebody saying about that'll never work in the street, blah blah blah.
Did I ever say it did?
No, but somebody put the point was saying that this is a showcase reel for auditions for movies. Nobody said this was a street.
That's a funny one when people say, "Oh, that'll never work in the street." It's like,
I mean,
didn't say it did. If I'd have put the video up saying this works in the street, and then it would have been fair game for people to go into it like crazy. But again, it's just small-minded people with.
I mean, we do an Okinawan Okinawan karate style, and I mean that because of the whole McDojo franchise things. We kind of get tarred under that same brush, and we find it very difficult because again we got, I think Kev, was it your son could get a green belt within 3 months with one. I hate saying this, when we do archery on a Wednesday there's a club, I'm not going to say who, and I fell off a ladder putting up the safety net, so I went round to have a watch, and I literally said, well, you've got to see these guys, and he's going, they're all wearing black belts. I went, yeah, I know, you must get it when you join the club. And I said, this is the danger, it's this whole franchise thing. And people, I've had somebody come in, he's 7, and they want him to be a black belt by the time he was 9. I said, well, we can't do that for you.
Yeah, it's the thing with it is now is I don't want to use the term diluted. But again, some people don't like the term industry either, but essentially that's what it is. It's huge now. It's so diverse. It's not like it used to be. I mean, I was having a conversation with somebody about my grades and my Dan grade. I graded to 4th Dan, I'm 38, and I've not graded any higher, and I really don't have any ambition to grade any higher. But that's just my own thing. But when I was an 8-year-old, when we saw a 1st or 2nd degree black belt, we held them in like a godlike status, and when they stepped up, you all went, ooh.
You did.
And there wasn't many of them either. Whereas now, I think because the industry has grown the way it has, it's really difficult now as well. I mean, gone are the days where you can say you're a certain grade and it means something. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean it that, if you say green belt to me, I think one thing and somebody else thinks another, because it's just the colour of a belt. It doesn't, they don't all match up anymore. There's not some big chart where you can go, yellow belt in my system compares to green belt in your system compares to blue belt in my system. For us, a brown belt isn't at the level that some systems use. So for anybody looking in, they kind of go, well, I know what a white belt is and I know what a black belt is. The rest in between is like, it's only really relevant to that school and that style. I think that's one of the things. And that's not really something that can really be, not that it needs tackling, but because new systems are being created all of the time, it's constantly evolving, there's always going to be these problems come up, but.
I mean, when last time I came master and spoke to Mark. I mean, he's been in martial arts since like the 50s. He actually started training in one of Chuck Norris's dojos. Wow. He's 73, He still does the splits, and he says, it's the whole thing. He said he was at an event and he was wearing his Tang Soo Do belt, and he said he was 7th Dan. So, sort of talking from the 50s up to now. He said this 13-year-old girl poked him. He said, "What's up, young lady?" He goes, "I'm the same grade as you." And he was kind of like, he said he doesn't wear belts anymore.
No, I mean, I graded to my 4th Dan in 2012.
Yeah.
And but between starting and getting my first degree, I was 8 when I started, and I was 19.
Yeah.
When I graded to black belt, nearly 20, just before my 20th birthday. And then I didn't do anything else for 6 years at all, didn't touch any gradings, just was concentrating purely on my training, on my film stuff and the games and my teaching, and I didn't do anything. And then I started getting pokes and nudges of people saying, you really should grade. And I kind of was like, okay, yeah. So I did this, I got to 4th degree, and now I'm sort of, as you say, I go out, and it's not that I'm trying to put a negative slant on it, and I was trying to explain this on my podcast, and you don't want to come across sort of like, well, I'm better. So it's not saying that, but it's when you see somebody, we've all got opinions, and I've seen some. I'll go out and I'm doing events and I see some people, and then I'm looking at what grade I am, and what I don't like is, actually just change it up before I get to there, is when you walk in a room at an event and the first thing they do is they look at your belt.
Yeah.
And then they make an assumption based on what you're wearing and what your belt is. It's like, okay, that's fine. And then you can just see everybody. You're at a mixed workshop, everybody's sort of giving it this, and right, what are they going to do? And then the second you do anything, they're like, oh, he's a show off. It's like, what? You can't win. You don't do anything. And they say you're rubbish. You do anything, oh, show off. It's like, my goodness me. It's like, what was the TV program? Oh, God. I've got a terrible memory. Compo and...
Last of the Summer One.
Yeah, it's like that, but with all the martial arts keys.
Yeah.
They're stood there watching everybody, all these thinking, they're sizing everybody up, and we've been at events before where they've done that, and you're teaching stuff and they're stood and they're shaking their head, and you're thinking, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So grades to me now, especially Dan grades, I walk in a room and there's a 10-year-old with the same grade as me, and then there's an 80-year-old with the same grade as me, and then and you're thinking, what is the relevance anymore? Does it hold any meaning anymore, or is it just more like ratification? I feel I need to be this grade in order for other people to respect me. Is that what it is? Because if it's that, then I don't need that.
Last time I graded was 97, and I was chatting to, the guy who ran the Black Belt International.
Yeah.
I can never remember his name, but the guy did the Olympics.
Oh yeah.
And I was chatting to him, and this sort of come up, and he said, "Oh, if you come up to Derby, I'll make you a 5th Dan." I said, "Well, what do I have to do?" And he went, "Turn up." I went, "Yeah, you're all right." And I thought, well, I kind of get that. If you join my association, I will make you this.
Yes.
And it's like, well, I'm not interested in that.
You're not alone.
No,
that's a subject for another day, though. But and again, and that's that is a problem within the arts. My background is in Korean arts, and I've had. I was actually talking to John McNally on my podcast the other week, and I had people turn me away from their associations based on who issued my certificate. Not on what I could physically and mentally, what I know, what I can do, what I've done. Nobody was interested in me as a martial artist. It was the little bits of paper and where it came from. And I know, and I was again looking through that, right. So you're happy to have them, but not me. What is it about them that's different? And then the guys were like, "Oh, he got his certificate from so and so." I'm like, "Yeah, but he bought it."
Yeah.
We can't say that. Yeah, but that's the fact, isn't it? We know it is. So it's a very paper-driven, backslapping, industry is martial arts.
I mean, I've literally got a stack of certificates that thick from some place. I went to some. I know where it was, and I got a certificate, so I'd attended this day's training, and it said you've progressed 2 hours towards this grade for doing. I was like, I only wanted to do a day's training with the guy because I heard it was good, and it was brilliant training. But then, you go somewhere and they're giving you like a certificate for turning up, and I'm thinking, well, I keep them just purely for that kind of thing, but it's
funny old industry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I
remember the days.
Yeah.
You walked on hot coals to get
We're sounding like that a little bit, aren't we?
I used to like going to Sensei, and I bumped into this guy. He wrote a book. I can't remember the Japanese name. It's called The Way of the Exploding Pen. And he was a cartoonist, and all of his mates were martial artists. And he did this cartoon book, you know, and it's really good. He signed it for me and everything. We had a chat, and he gave me an I Spy list. And he said, if you can get 20 of these, I'll give you something. And it was, you had to look for the martial artist only wearing gi bottoms with the overly large muscles, walking around, you know. Look,
all the stereotypes.
Yeah, you've got to find the guy with so much gold on his gi and his belt that he can barely, you know, and the mystic Zen toddle, you know. And there was 20 of them. I cracked up. You know, me and my mate were going around going, yeah. But his comment for that was when he walked into Sensei first. He'd never been before, and he walked in and he just went, "You can just smell the testosterone in here, can't you?" And I said, "They're good fun."
Those are the days, Sensei.
Yeah, that was a good old bash.
I used to look forward to that every year.
Yeah.
It was like it was kind of like I don't know, like a martial arts convention, car boot sale. And everything all rolled into one. But again, it was like before social media was a thing, so it was like your annual meet-up with people.
Yeah, I mean, I would literally, that's the only time I would see people. And then all the big suppliers were there. And
all the stalls,
And you were like, that's normally 80 quid, I can get it for 20 today.
Yeah, exactly,
you know, whenever
those were the days. We're doing that again, aren't we?
So, how can people get hold of you? Cool.
Well, Facebook, as much as I've banged on about how evil it is now. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the usual stuff. I'm on there. If you search my name, if you search Chris Jones, there's about 7,000 of us. Yeah. But what I did intentionally is I'm the one with my leg stuck in the air. Yeah. So if you see somebody with a leg stuck in the air, that's me. Okay. I've been balancing on my leg for about 2 years now in the same position on Facebook, so I'm getting quite good at it. Now, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, website, so you've got kickbackpodcast.com, which is the podcast one. You've got my personal website, which is chrisjonesaction.co.uk, which sort of like covers the more film side of things. That's probably the main ways, and on all of those are links to my email addresses and even phone numbers, those things that people do sometimes have. So if anybody would like to use the telephone to contact me, they're more than welcome, as long as it's not in the middle of the night.
How often do you do your podcasts, and when, so people can catch them?
Well, at the minute it's weekly. The long-term plan is to perhaps reduce that down to twice weekly with sort of more of a produced show. But for now, just while I'm trying to get things going, get momentum going with it, we go out every week. Usually they release on a Thursday or a Friday. Somewhere between that sort of Thursday morning and Friday evening window. The good thing about podcasting is, though, it's because it's stored online, you can access it whenever you want. One of the first things I did was survey, and the top answer in the survey was that people don't really care when it goes out because they can just get it whenever they want to get it. And that's actually shown in the stats. You know, there's a peak on day one when it releases, but then throughout the rest of the week, there's pretty much the same amount of listens every day. So, you know, that's probably the best way. The best way at the social media. I mean, I've got all the different Facebook groups as well. So, you know, get me on there.
Have you got any up and coming projects?
I've always got things on the go. I mean, I was just chatting yesterday to somebody about some, you know, things I've got producing film-wise and TV stuff. So because I'm trying to get back. I keep saying I'm getting back into it. I've never not stopped doing it. I just took my foot off the gas a little. So I'm sort of getting back into that side of things again, with a couple of things getting on. I was chatting to somebody a couple of weeks ago about describing what it's like, trying to get back on board with it, and it's a bit like It's like trying to jump onto a treadmill that's already on at full speed.
Yeah.
You know, you put your foot on,
You've got to go.
Because the industry's carried on going whilst I've relaxed. I've got to sort of find out who's who and what's going on, and you know, so it's quite good fun. It's like hitting a reset button and having a second go. So that's going on. I've got. I announced on my Jackie Chan special podcast from last week that I work with his European branch of his charity, JC Dragon's Heart Europe, and because they do a lot to fund a lot of different fantastic things going on, and I've been. Obviously, I've got them on my sleeve. You did a nice close-up on that earlier. But I've been trying to raise money all I can. Yeah. And one of the things I used to do on a near weekly basis was teach workshops all around the country. Yeah. And I stopped for a while. And the thing is, it was only meant to be a 6-month break, and it kind of turned into a 6-year break. Yeah. And I'm always getting asked, and I always say, oh yeah, I will, and they never quite arrange it. So now I'm definitely going to get back into doing workshops again. I want to do it sort of over the next 5 years or so. Whilst I feel I can still do the stuff at a level that I'm happy with, I want to kind of share it as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is, every workshop, I've not worked out the set amounts and stuff, I've got to kind of get it all worked out, but guaranteed every workshop percentage of the money I earn from it will go to the charity. So, you know, it's a win-win for everybody there.
That's what
they'll get a good seminar. I get paid, so my wife doesn't get grumpy at me, and the charity earns some money out of it as well, so everybody's happy.
When we run a seminar, we do sort of similar sort of thing. So we this isn't our job. He would like it to be our job, but as I say, at the moment, all we worry about is let's get this out there, get that inclusivity in, and get people who encompass the whole ethos. Yeah, you know, let's talk to these people.
Yeah, and for me, it's as I said earlier, it's an important thing, and I would encourage all instructors out there to try and make an effort to really look at what they're doing, and you know, are you doing your best? Are you just saying it, or are you actually doing something to be more inclusive? And the thing with it is I feel it's taking ownership of the fear, because it is scary. You know, I remember when we had we had a child come in with Down syndrome, and I was absolutely. And then when they turn up to class, the first class I was scared. That's okay though, that's fine. It's what you then do following that's important. It's not to go, oh well, we tried it and it didn't work out. Yeah. No. What can we do? What can I do to make things work? Because it's not only. The thing with it is a lot of times it's people focus on the benefit that the student's gaining, which is right, but it's the other students too, and the parents and the staff. You know, when we've got one class, and you know, the kids, when we first started running it, the kids there was about 10 kids in there, and we had 3 of them on the autistic spectrum with different challenges. One, it was very much auditory. They didn't like the noise. One was anything touching, and there was, so they all had various things, and it was a bit of to start with, it was a bit of a bad mix in that respect. And the kids initially in the class were a bit like, they didn't quite know. But now it's one of the best classes of the week. Yeah. And everybody's benefited, and the parents have all said how much they've appreciated somebody taking time to get things right. It was a disaster to start with. I'll be honest. It was a disaster to start with. But rather than just going, no, it didn't work, we've just persevered with it, and we learned from the mistakes. And everybody in the class was on that journey, and the parents were, you know. So in a roundabout way, everybody got something from it.
Yeah, I'd say that was the thing we found. Yeah. You learn. Yeah. I mean, we did a course at Buxton University, and you listen to some of the stories and how students got treated in other clubs and all that kind of thing, and you think, wow.
I think personally, I really do think it comes down to fear. Yeah. And I know a lot of instructors, and I get it, there'll probably be some people watching this going, no, it's not fear at all. It really is. It is. It's the fear of, you know, if I do this, what might happen? If they do this, what might happen? Will the students leave? And all, these are the real things that people are thinking that they don't want to say, because they think somebody's going to say, oh, you can't say that. Oh. But it's what people, if we don't make any effort to sort of challenge these thoughts and have people go, look, it's okay. It's okay to think that. It's what you do afterwards that's important. Yeah. Are you going to do anything? Are you going to do anything about it? And I just encourage everybody to just be.
I think you've got to be a bit open and receptive.
Just don't be afraid to have a go. You know, and you'd be surprised. I mean, the first thing I always do when a parent comes to me, because we've sort of built up a bit of a reputation locally, this is great. We love it. But when the parents come in, I'll say, okay, I want you to make me a list of all the things that you think I need to know. And so that I'm armed with that, and I can go to my other staff and go, these are the things. And the amount of times the parents will go, you're the first person to ever ask that. Yeah. And it's like, well, it's just common sense, really. If we're armed with the knowledge, it's going to make it much easier for us to avoid. If we know that Billy doesn't like it when there's sudden loud bangs, then we'll avoid them. Yeah. If we know that he doesn't like, being surrounded by large groups, then we'll try and make it as best we can that doesn't happen. And it's just communication and not being afraid to ask those questions of parents, because they are ultimately the experts. Yeah.
We actually found one of the biggest holdbacks for the kids was actually parents, because they would quite often say, oh no, he'd never do that.
You can, that's true. We've had that as well.
Yeah, and we say, no, let him try.
And I think that's built up over years as well, because they've been to a lot of other places that have told them, no, you can't because, no, you can't because, no, you can't because. And we, what I try to do here is be aware and take on board all of the things that I'm told by the parents, not to dismiss them. Be aware of what they've told me, but ultimately don't then shackle the kids and say, well, the parents said this, so I will still push the boundaries a little bit and find out. And we've had a lot of different kids come to us. Some of them we were told, they won't put a belt on, they won't put sparring kit on, they won't. Yeah. And ultimately, we've just tried different strategies, and over time, they've overcome it. It just took them longer.
Yeah.
And then that's all it takes. Be creative.
Yeah. I mean, one of my aims in life, is at some point in my life I'm gonna do the splits. I mean, I've got a back injury, I've got a neck injury, I've got a shoulder injury.
Right now, go.
Yeah, this is it. But it's something I thought, well, no, I can do this, and I'm going to practice. And it's very small, gradual. Yeah. I'm more flexible now. I'm 50 this year, and I'm more flexible than I was at 18. And I used to do gymnastics. And I think, well, it's not again, I see videos on YouTube, it says, how to do the splits in a day.
No.
And I'm like,
if you want to get yourself in hospital.
Yeah, I'm thinking, no.
Snap.
Yeah.
You're in the splits. You can't do anything now for another year, but
I was actually told that by one guy. He said, what we do is we do the hurdle split, and we tear the muscles.
Yeah, that's what they
and then when they recover, you can do the split. So I'm thinking.
Yeah, but by the time you get to 40, you have all sorts of very, very, very bad things wrong with your body as well.
Yeah, I actually got an injury. I was going into the splits. I mean, again, this is like this was 85. And the instructor went, you should be deeper than that, and he hacked my leg out. So every now and then, and this leg, I get it's just like a ball of like tightness. It's about the size of a golf ball, but I can't move my leg. I do a roundhouse.
The thing is now, there's no excuse for stuff like that anymore. If you're doing that sort of thing, people stop it.
Yeah, but that was accepted.
Yeah, was then.
Yeah.
But shockingly though, there are still people that do that sort of thing. But there's been so much advance now in sort of medical science, and people understand the body so much more that there's no reason for some of the things that people do to themselves. but more alarmingly that they do to kids. You know, every week you get some sort of report of some instructor has pushed some child in this or that, and it's like, don't break that. Their bodies at this sort of age, you've got to be careful, and you know, some of the old style training. Yeah, we need to keep it, and we need to have it. It's important, but some of the stuff you need to stop doing it because we now know it's not good. We don't just keep doing it because that's what master told me to do. No. Yeah, he did, but now we found out that's bad, so we don't do that anymore. You know, and just.
My instructor, we used to do this warm up, and he come in one day and he says, I've read a medical report. If we do that, that's going to bugger our knees up later on in life. We're not doing this exercise anymore. You know, and he said we're going to do something different because that's bad for our knees. So he was always quite on top of that kind of thing. So I see people conditioning training. They want to get, like you say, they want to get on that treadmill at full blast, not realising it takes years and years of training. But they're there straight away trying to punch bricks. And it's like, no. Not that I think you should be punching bricks, because, you know.
Whatever floats your boat, really, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
I don't punch bricks personally. I've got nothing against them, but you know, people like punching bricks, and that's let them they're only not punching my bricks.
Yeah, that's the thing. We got a couple of break boards that we play around with sometimes. We do some conditioning exercises on our arms and legs, but ultimately, I know people, they do a lot of that.
It's cool. I mean, I know people that do the same, and they train to a very high level to get good at it, and that's fine. I don't do it, but they don't do what I do either. And
this is it.
It's the tolerance thing, isn't it? In martial arts, it's, you know, let them.
Yeah, I mean,
as long as they don't come punching my wall, I don't mind.
Yeah. Well, I tend to find, on a general thing, you talk to someone, they go, "Oh, you do martial arts," and I go, and my instinct thing is, "Oh, here we go." I either get a lecture on everything I'm doing wrong because of what I do. Yeah. Or they're like, "Oh, what do you do? How do you do that? Oh, I do this," and they're like, "Oh, that's quite." You get the two-way.
You can't win. I mean, I had knee surgery in 2010. Yeah. And I was told by my specialist that I should never do it ever again. No martial arts, no running, no jumping, no kicking, nothing. Yeah. And I was like, "Mate, well, that's not going to happen, mate." And he was like, "Well, you won't be able to do it anyway." I went, "Oh, okay. Yeah. Based on your limitations, that's fine, but let's see."
Okay. Thanks for having us down.
No problem. Yes, very much.
As always an interesting chat and an interesting chain, and hopefully we'll catch up with you again.
Absolutely.
Kaizen.
Yes.
If not before.
Looking forward to it.
Again, thanks for your time.
No problem, guys. No problem.
Don't forget, check him out, guys.
Say nice things.
Nice things.
Thanks, guys. We hope you enjoyed this video. It's a bit of a long one, we know, but the guy was so interesting that we just couldn't stop filming. If you want to know more about Chris and his kicking techniques, you can go to his podcast. He's on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Well worth looking into. Top bloke. Gave us plenty of his time. Couldn't be more grateful for his contribution to us. Remember, guys, all the stuff for Chris Jones will be linked in the descriptions. Please go and check him out. Don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, free the fear.